Aston Martin secretly sells F1 team and people are losing their minds over it. So Aston Martin, the car maker, not the F1 team, just made a move that's turning heads in both the racing world and the auto industry. They're selling their stake in the Formula One team that carries their own name. Yeah, you heard that right. Aston Martin is selling Aston Martin. But it's not as dramatic as it sounds. Or maybe it is, let's break it down. On paper, the car maker only owns 4.6% of the Aston Martin Aramco F1 team. The majority of the team is actually controlled by billionaire Lawrence Stroll through his investment group. But that tiny 4.6%, it's being sold for $1,426 million, 0 cents. Do the math, and that puts the team's total valuation at a jaw-dropping $3,200 million, 0 cents. That's wild. Especially when you realize Stroll bought the entire team for just $117 million, 0 cents back in 2018 when it was still Racing Point. That's not just a good return on investment, that's generational wealth levels of flippin'. But back to the car company. Why would Aston Martin, the brand famous for giving James Bond his rides, bail on the team that's carrying its name on the grid? The short answer, money problems. The long answer, they're drowning. In the last year, Aston Martin Lochlanda's stock value has been cut in half. Their Q2 revenue took a 34% nosedive, thanks in part to lower than expected demand for high-end models like the Valkyrie and Valhalla. These are supposed to be the crown jewels of their luxury lineup, but customers aren't biting. And even when they are, there's another issue that's making everything worse: tariffs. Thanks to a brutal trade regime between the UK and the US, Aston Martin faced up to 27.5% tariffs on any cars shipped after the first 100,000 exported from the UK. That's an enormous extra cost that lands on the customer. So a $100,000 0 cents car suddenly becomes $127,500 0 cents. That's not pocket change. If you're an American buyer with options, why would you go for a car that just jumped in price for no good reason? And Aston Martin can't afford to lose American customers. They are a small volume producer, so every lost sale hits hard. Put that all together, falling stock prices, poor sales, export headaches, and you've got a company desperately trying to stop the bleeding. That's where the F1 team comes in. Even though they don't control the team, their branding is all over it. Slapping Aston Martin on the side of a fast car was supposed to be a marketing masterstroke. It worked for a while, but maintaining an F1 presence, even at 4.6%, is still a luxury. And when your core business is barely staying afloat, luxuries get chopped. That $146 million 0 cents payday from selling their stake? It's not just a cash grab, it's a lifeline. The twist? The team isn't actually losing the name. Thanks to existing contracts with Stroll's group, the F1 team will still race under the Aston Martin banner. So to the outside world, it'll seem like business as usual. But behind the scenes, the car maker will no longer be involved. The name stays, but the money behind it disappears. And here's where things get juicy. That massive $3,200 million 0 cents valuation isn't just some random number. It reflects the F1 team's meteoric rise, fueled by big investment, smart moves, and a whole lot of hype. Which is why this sale is more than just a company offloading a financial burden. It's a snapshot of where F1 is right now. Investors are circling, the sport is hot, and even a small piece of the action is worth a fortune. Lawrence Stroll, the man behind this whole F1 revival, doesn't seem bothered. If anything, this is all part of his master plan. The Canadian billionaire isn't just some rich guy playing with race cars. He's been carefully building a motorsport empire. From the moment he bought the struggling Racing Point team, renamed it, and slapped the Aston Martin badge on it, his goal was never just racing. It was legacy, dominance, and a seat at the big table of global motorsport. He's poured hundreds of millions into transforming the team, not just with tech and drivers, but with infrastructure. That state-of-the-art Silverstone campus, yeah, that thing cost over $200 million, 0 cents. It's not just a factory, it's a statement. It says, "We're not here to be midfield." And while the results this season haven't backed that up yet, the groundwork is all in place. That's part of what makes the $3,200,000,000 0 cents valuation so insane but also believable. The team's been slowly climbing the F1 ranks, gaining credibility, fans, and investor attention. A couple of years ago, private equity giants HPS and Arctos bought in at a $2,400,000,000 0 cents valuation. The year before that, it was $1,300,000,000 0 cents. That's more than double in just a year. And if you trace it all the way back to 2018, we're talking about a 2,735% increase. Numbers like that don't just happen in motorsport. This is tech startup territory. And Stroll, he's been cashing in smart, selling bits and pieces along the way, always keeping control, always pushing forward. He's also got the perfect ace up his sleeve, Fernando Alonso. A two-time world champion, Alonso isn't just there to drive. He's a magnet for attention, sponsors, and credibility. Even when the car isn't performing, Alonso is. He's got that rare mix of elite talent and unfiltered honesty that fans eat up. After a rough showing at Spa, finishing 18th by the way, he didn't sugarcoat it. "We're not half a second slower because of rain tweaks," he said. "This car just isn't good enough right now." That kind of rough feedback is what makes Alonso so valuable. He calls it like he sees it, and right now he's already looking toward 2026. That's when everything changes. New F1 technical regulations kick in, new power units, new aerodynamics, a reset across the board, and guess who's building their next challenger in a $200,000,000 0 cents tech fortress, with Honda supplying factory engines and reportedly even Adrian Newey advising from the shadows. Yup, Stroll squad. While the rest of the grid is patching up this season's bruises, Aston Martin is quietly gearing up for a possible takeover in 2026. Alonso has hinted that almost the entire team's energy is already focused on the new car. He's not alone. A lot of the midfield drivers outside of McLaren's duo are mentally already living 2 years into the future. The current car, the EMR 25, just isn't cutting it. Alonso knows it. Stroll Jr. knows it. The engineers know it. But that doesn't mean they're giving up. It just means their eyes are on the bigger prize. Of course, there's still the question of who'll actually be racing those 2026 cars. Alonso and Lance Stroll are locked in, but reserve driver Felipe Drugovich is suddenly looking very, very active. New sponsors, public statements, and even a label from one company calling him an F1 driver? Not your typical reserve behavior. Something's definitely brewing there. Jack Crawford's name has started bubbling up too, and for good reason. He's American, he's talented, and he's currently sitting third in the Formula 2 championship with just a handful of points separating him from the top. He's young, hungry, and laser focused on getting a seat in Formula 1, and if he wins the F2 title this year, teams are going to have a hard time ignoring him. Crawford's already said publicly that he's looking for any opportunity, whether with Aston Martin, Cadillac, or anyone else who's got a spot to fill. And let's be real, the idea of a young American talent entering F1 just as Cadillac joins the grid? That's marketing gold. Especially with Andretti Cadillac fighting tooth and nail to get an entry approved, having someone like Crawford on standby could be a serious advantage. And while Cadillac insists any American driver would be picked on merit, the stars are aligning almost too perfectly. All of this is part of a bigger shift in F1. It's not just about who's fast anymore, it's about who brings value. Driver seats aren't just performance-based, they're business decisions. Sponsors, markability, fan base, future potential, it all counts. That's why someone like Drugovich with new partnerships popping up might suddenly be looking more appealing, and it's why a rising American like Crawford has real momentum behind him. For Aston Martin, this means options. They've got the legacy driver in Alonso, they've got the owner's son in Stroll, and behind them, they've got a bench that's slowly getting louder. Whether Drugovich or Crawford gets the nod in the future, the message is clear. Aston Martin is building a pipeline, not just a team. They're not interested in being placeholders anymore. They want to shape the future of the grid. The irony in all this? The car maker Aston Martin has already tapped out. They've taken their check and dipped, but they're their name is about to be part of one of the most aggressive and forward-thinking projects in the paddock. Lawrence Stroll is building something serious and not for vanity, not just for fun. He wants wins, he wants titles, and he wants Aston Martin to be synonymous with success, not just some old-school luxury badge that screams Bond car. That $3 billion, $200 million, 0 cents valuation isn't just about past results. It's about potential. F1 is booming. Audiences are up, Netflix has turned the sport into a global drama, and private money is flooding in. Everyone wants a piece. Hedge funds, tech bros, old money, new money, they all see what's coming. And Stroll's sitting at the table, holding a team that's ready to pop. The next 2 years are going to be telling. If Aston Martin delivers in 2026 with a fast car, strong drivers, and Honda power under the hood, they could disrupt the balance of power in F1. Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, they're the titans. But titans fall, especially when someone hungrier, richer, and more calculated is knocking on the door. So while the car maker is quietly trying to stay afloat, the team wearing its name might be about to explode in relevance, maybe even dominance. And that's the real twist. Aston Martin the brand might be cashing out, but Aston Martin the team, they're just getting started. If this plan works, Lawrence Stroll won't just be remembered as a billionaire dad, he'll be the architect behind one of the most ambitious team transformations in Formula One history. And everyone else on the grid, they better start watching their mirrors.